There we go. Green box. That's good.
Hold on. Try it with me. Once again, say it.
Nope, I'm not saying it. I'm too much on tilt right now.
Yeah.
And now we're not getting like a picture on our video?
Yeah, we have excellent connection.
What is going on here?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Ding, ding, ding. There it
absolutely
goes.
furious. I am
Hold on. Breathe it in. Yeah.
I'm furious.
That checkbox. One checkbox. Totally ruins the night.
I am furious.
Well, for...
Now there we go. Now everyone's going to start kicking in here.
Right.
Hello there,
Yeah.
chat.
Everyone's like, what's
It's okay.
going on?
We're
Someone
only-
please explain what happened before I...
We're 30 minutes behind.
But
It's
we're not.
okay. But, you know what? We're still within...
We started 30 minutes ago. And we filmed 30 minutes of a show.
Oh, we had a great intro.
It was great. We had a great show.
Yeah,
And then
with nobody.
we realized that none of you were here, and we went, hold on. Wait a second. Where's everybody?
We thought we were dazzling people.
We advertised.
Yeah.
We sent out the socials. We said, hey guys, we advertised in advance like you've been asking us to. We're gonna tell you what we're drinking. And we're like, where is everybody? How's nobody around? And then we realized that
We
our
were
stream was
streaming
set to
private.
Private streaming. One checkbox on YouTube.
We have since spent the last 10 to 15 minutes
Figuring out. How
resetting, figuring out. So here we are. Now that we're back. Hey, welcome to the Barrel Buddies.
I'm James.
I'm Zach.
And I'm BJ.
Oh, yeah.
And tonight, welcome back to our Back to Basics episodes.
Yeah, what do we got? What are we drinking tonight?
So the last 2 weeks, we've gone to 2 sessions of Knob Creek. But the whole point of Back to Basics is to get us to a whiskey that you can just pull off of your grocery store shelf. And so tonight we have for you Le Maker's Le Marque.
Good old Maker's Mark. Zach, why don't you take that bottle up to the camera?
Do the honors for us.
Do the honors. Do the honors, please. Barndor says, how you guys doing? We're doing well. How are you?
Good to
How are
see you,
things?
Barn Door.
How's everybody in the chat?
How we doing?
A little closer, a little bit.
Closer.
A little closer.
Keep counting.
Right there, right there. There it is. It's in focus. Maker's Mark. Readily available everywhere.
That's the red top. So we're dipping, we ain't ripping.
Dipping in wax. Look for the red wax. And you can find Maker's. I mean, we're talking grocery stores. We're talking probably
Corner stores.
7-Eleven.
Maybe even gas stations, yeah.
Your
Gas
local
stations.
bodega.
Everyone should have Maker's Mark.
Well, that came from Total Wine tonight.
Total Wine tonight.
Yeah, Total Wine. I don't even know how many. They have a 375. They have a 500 ml, a 750, and different shapes of those. too.
Yeah. So how much? Taking words right out of my
After
mouth.
after
Mine's
tax,
take a light.
Yeah.
after tax, this guy is a 375 and it's $20.
Oh,
So,
$20.
yeah.
Can't beat it.
So when's the last time you had Maker's Mark?
Oh, jeez. I mean, I've had it mixed probably within, I'll say 4 or 5 years ago, but I haven't had Maker's straight. Yeah, I haven't had Maker's straight probably in about 10. I don't even remember what this tastes like.
When's the last time you had Maker's Mark?
I'm going to say I am very close to what James's situation is. I've had it mixed before. I've never really called it out. I think I've had people tell me, here, drink this Coke with Maker's Mark.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had it straight.
So what's
to be
your
honest.
story?
I'm going to tell you right now that I don't crap on you for making this a good mixer. This is a great mixer.
It is a great mixer.
This is a high-end mixer, and we're going to talk about the mash bill in just a minute that makes this such a great mixer.
Yeah.
We've got lots of good factoids about Maker's Mark tonight, but I was introduced to Maker's Mark by the great A.G. Mac McGranahan III. He was the director of bands at University of Nevada, Reno, and he was a Kentucky boy, and this was his Kentucky whiskey.
Big Maker's fan.
Big Maker's fan. And he would drink this straight up, and so do I. I really like it, and I would tell you. So this has got a.
Hold on a second though. When was the last time you had it straight?
2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. So you know what you're diving
That
into.
top. That was interesting.
I know what I'm diving into.
Is this a screw top?
It is a screw top.
Oh my god.
So let's
yeah.
talk a little bit about
Okay.
some factoids.
Wait! I thought there was like a stopper in there.
No, that's
Most
a
of
screw
them
top.
are stoppers, but the 375
Yeah,
is a
there
screw
you
top.
go. Do a little screw top on there.
Little
Oh,
screwy.
that's genius.
So if you're not finishing the rest of it, just screw it back on.
Screw it back on.
There you go. Have
Most of them
something
are
later.
cork stoppers, though. Let's talk about this hand dip. So, the Mrs. Samuel, Mrs. Samuels, Bill Samuel's wife. I think her name was Marjorie.
Bill Samuel.
This only comes back to 1953, by the way. Maker's Mark was only
That's crazy.
It's not that old.
1953, not that old.
It's not that old. I mean, I guess
They bought a
it's not.
distillery in 1953. It was, I think it was Bunk. No, it wasn't Bunk.
Hang on.
What I'm saying is Bunk.
Welcome everybody. I see we have quite a few people joining us in the
Burke's.
chat.
Burke's Distillery in 1953, and Marjorie came up with this, and we'll talk to you
Who's
about
Marjorie?
Marjorie was William Samuel's wife.
Yeah, the
And
wife.
William Samuels is the
The guy
distiller.
who bought Burke's Distillery to make
Maker's Mark. And did he come up with the recipe?
I'm going to tell that story in just a minute.
Oh, okay.
But what I want to tell you about is this wax that sets it apart. Marjorie said that they should hand dip it. They should dip it to make it look expensive. They had their first slogan was, "It looks expensive, and it is."
Oh.
Which was a terrible slogan.
You know what's funny? I think I've seen these in Italian restaurants where they use them as like candle holders.
Yes.
Just because of the
Yep.
wax, you know?
Yeah. Well, Chianti, Maker's Mark. They
I was
got
going to say
that
they'd empty these out in Italian restaurants and fill it with like table wine.
Right.
Who knows?
hand dip.
That's gotta be some thick ass wax.
Each
Yeah.
one is hand dipped, so it's hand dipped by an individual, a real person. Normal whiskey production is $200 to $400 bottles a day. Maker's Mark does 100 to 200 bottles per day because they hand dip every bottle. So this is a very hands-on process.
Funny you mentioned that. So I believe Blanton's does the same method. So I wonder what their total bottle count per day
It's
is.
got to be close to that 100 to 200 bottles.
What do you think the wax guy? What do you think his title is?
The wax guy.
The
Dipper.
the waxiliary?
Dipper.
The dipper?
Wax,
Okay. You're the
Waxiliary.
dipper. This is what you're gonna do for the first 10 years of working at the Maker's Mark distillery.
No, I think dip and wax is probably high up on the totem pole.
Hey,
Maybe he's
I'm a
like,
whiskey dip.
He's a dipper.
maybe he's like the
Big Dipper, Little Dipper.
Big Dipper, Little Dipper. There you go.
I'm a little dipper.
So the little bottle's got a little dipper.
I don't like your Maker's Mark voice, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. My Bobcat.
It's very
Goldthwait.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
It's very Bobcat. I don't like the way you guys like to dip the whiskey.
This smells delicious.
Oh, actually, this smells fantastic. So what's our stats on the bottle? Why don't we go over a little bit of stats before we drink it?
Stats on the bottle. So this is Maker's Mark whiskey. This is a bourbon out of Kentucky.
Oh, whiskey
Fun
with a
fact:
Y.
it's whiskey
Oh,
with
I'm
a
sorry.
Y.
I didn't mean to take
I love that you did though.
I did.
I love that
I
you did.
did mean to. I'm so sorry.
So
I got excited.
So Bill Samuels, the master distiller who originally started this, Bill Samuels, he was a fourth generation whiskey maker. He took the original family whiskey recipe,
Ah.
170-year-old whiskey recipe, and he burned it when he took over Burke's Distillery. He burns it.
Burns the actual recipe.
So it's like
Burns it.
steals it.
He says, no, it's a terrible recipe.
Ah, didn't like it.
And he hated it.
So he created a new recipe.
So they created a new recipe which was based off of the family recipe.
It was probably the same recipe.
Mash bill is 80% corn,
No. I think it's 70% corn, 19% red wheat.
red winter wheat.
And why is it? What's red winter wheat?
Red winter wheat is a wheat that you plant in the fall and harvest through the winter. It's usually made for artisan bread, which is how they figured out how to mellow this whiskey. They actually baked bread and threw bread into the distillation process to speed up the distillation process rather than just adding wheat.
Yeah.
They added loaves of bread, artisan bread, to come up with this uniquely smooth whiskey.
And then the rest of the percentage you get your barley.
Barley.
Yeah.
So this is a wheated bourbon.
Wheated.
Wheated. So that's what's going on.
This is a caramel. This is like caramel.
Oh, yeah.
This is like
Dude.
pudding.
Yeah.
It's
Butterscotch
there's
pudding?
Butterscotch caramel pudding.
But I like that there's you get a
so
hint.
sweet.
You get a hint of the alcohol on this. Now this is proofed down. This is 90 proof, so 45%.
alcohol.
They proof it down. The barrels are hand turned in the rick house. They spend between 6 and 7 years in the rick house, and they start at the top and they move to the bottom.
What is the point of that, I wonder? Just to
It's-
mellow out the flavors
We gotta
and make sure
remember-
that we have some continuity?
Start hot and mellow out low.
Yes, because here's the thing. What they do is these barrels. Think about like Blanton's prime example. They sit in a corner, bottom, middle, anywhere where the barrel is sitting, based on where it's at, has different exposure, has different flavors, different breathing, different temperatures, different humidity. When they move it around, because what they do at the end of the day is they blend this, right?
Yeah.
They just blend this into vats, and the distiller is like, all right, these 6 barrels taste like what Maker's Mark should taste like. Proof it down to your 90 proof and sell it.
That's exactly right.
And then the
So
blend-
that I think the premise is they shifted around to try to get that equality between tastes.
So makers will tell you they don't really put an age statement on their bottle because what they're going after is a flavor profile, not an age statement profile, and so they're really going after the flavor, which they say could take anywhere from 6 to 7 years.
yeah, it's kind of like small batch where you're
It's a small
you're
batch.
blending you're blending things together. I really love that
Little
smell. I
Kentucky
haven't even
Hug.
tasted it yet.
Little.
I get a little Kentucky Hug. It's very sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweet. I think this is a great. Like this is my initial impressions, everyone. Like very awesome entry level. Your first bourbon, like this is a great
It's
door
very-
opening.
This
the door.
was
It's
my
very
first
it's very
approachable.
very Buffalo Trace. I think that you could. I'm not saying the flavor profile is the same, but on the same level. Drinkability.
Crafty,
So
yeah.
you could start with a Buffalo Trace. You could start with a Maker's Mark.
I think this is crafty, but I don't think this is anywhere near Buffalo Trace.
Elmer in the chat says try saying red winter wheat 10 times real
Red
fast.
Winter Wheat.
Here we go.
Red
Red
winter
winter
wheat.
wheat. Red winter 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 wheat.
I almost messed that
In
up.
your face, Elmer.
It's
Red
tough.
Winter Wheat.
I think it goes pretty okay.
Red winter wheat. You guys say like
Red winter wheat.
red winter wheat.
Red
You guys
winter
go-
wheat.
Anyway. I that wheat.
Um,
like,
What are you getting out of the palate here?
I'm getting caramel, super like a caramel bomb,
Mm-hmm.
butterscotch,
caramel.
very sweet.
But I think the alcohol presence is for only being 45%.
I get that spice. So that first sip, I
Yeah.
get spice.
Dude,
like-
it's almost like you get like a layer of spice.
Mhm.
That's what I'm getting. Like,
Yeah,
so
and-
after the second sip, you're still tasting the caramel. You're still tasting the sweetness, but then it kind of like stops.
And some people have asked like, what spice are you guys talking about?
stands
so
up.
I get like a little bit of peppery Christmas spice, like sweet, like
Yeah, that generic. It's a generic Christmassy spice, that like sandalwood, clove, cinnamon, nutmeg blend.
So everyone knows my palate. I don't like really a lot of spice. I think this is pretty one-sided. It fades pretty quickly. I'm not a fan of that. Nothing hangs around in my palate like some of the stuff we've drank.
It's weird. Like
But it's
I like-
Maker's Mark.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
the nose.
this
I
is
like the nose
regular
better than the
Maker's.
taste already.
Agreed. Nose is better than the taste.
Well, that's what makes this a great blending whiskey. So when you guys
Oh,
talk about
yeah.
blending this into a whiskey and Coke, a
A
Maker's,
cocktail, old-fashioned.
a cocktail. This is a great cocktail
That'd be an
whiskey.
amazing. That'd be an amazing old fashioned.
Good old fashioned.
Yeah.
Makers and ginger, makers and Coke, makers and soda. This is a quality. Go to the bar when somebody goes, "Do you have a preference on bourbon?" You can always say makers.
Yeah, and if I was buying a bar, I would probably
Be
be
great.
pouring everything with Makers.
Yeah.
Oh, give me a bourbon and Coke. And you're like, well, you want bourbon.
It's standard.
I just grab
It's
this.
super standard.
Yeah.
I think that this is from a flavor profile. I think that this is everything in my brain that a bourbon should taste like.
Well, let's get our nose profile out of the way. I'm gonna give it a 3 for nose. I think the nose is fantastic, and I'm not big on giving 3s,
You're not big on giving 3s.
but I think it's got a great nose. I think the nose is there. It's got this really nice sweetness, caramel apple.
Caramel, butterscotch.
I'm only going to give it a 2 because there's something abrasive about the nose that I don't enjoy. Like, I can take only so much of it before it starts to really burn in my
If
sinuses.
you breathe too hard, yeah, you get a little.
It gets a little hurty, a
That's
little
kind of
painful, a
a
little burning. And so I'm going to give it, I'm only going to give it a 2 on the nose. It's nothing super fantastic, but it's good. It's what I expect.
So with the nose for makers, I have smelt whiskeys like this before.
But have you dealt whiskeys like this before?
Oh, I have dealt them to myself. Smelt and dealt. I'm gonna give it a 2. It's nothing outrageous. There isn't anything that that I haven't smelt in this glass that I haven't saw in other whiskeys before. I don't know what to compare it to, but I've smelt the same flavors. Nothing that's super distinct.
Yeah. And how are we for taste? Why don't we start back down to you, Zach, for taste?
Snake it around.
Yeah.
So sweet caramely, ends with the baking spice. I'm gonna give it a 2. I've had another. Again, I don't know what to compare this to. I would really love to do like a side by side with something that I think this would compare to, just to see what tastes like what. But yeah, a 2. I really haven't had anything amazing in this class that I can write home about.
Sure. Beach, what do we got here?
A 2. This is a 2 in my palate. So flavors for me, I'll give it the caramel. Definitely that generic Christmas baking spice is there. A flavor profile that I'm shocked none of you have talked about, but is very prevalent in my palate, is a very sunny, like a sun-warmed leather. There's like a sun-baked leather there, and saddle leather is more preferable, a newer saddle leather, nothing very worn or old. This is very new leather to me, almost like new baseball glove, and I find that to be enjoyable. You're right, the flavor does not go for a long time. It kind of dies quick.
Yeah.
But I've got nostalgia in this for me as well. There's a lot of nostalgia here. And I think drinking it straight, this is a good definition of a standard bourbon to me, and I like it. So a 2, and there's nothing wrong with that.
What's funny is I don't taste that. Like, I've had whiskeys before, bourbons before, where I've tasted that saddle leather.
Mm-hmm.
I think let me try it again just to see if I can pull
Have you
that
cut
out
it?
of it.
If you cut it, I think if you cut it, you're going to get that saddle leather a little bit more prevalent.
Will it open up?
It takes cutting it takes the spice off a little bit, and it opens up some of that back end. And I think the saddle leather is a little more subtle.
In the chat.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can
does
do
that change? You get a little saddle leather there?
Hint of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say super
Subtle.
prevalent. Yeah.
So,
Before I jump to my taste, Shelly's got a question here. She says she has a white oak stave company in her town. How much does that type of wood of the barrel affect the taste, and how?
can I jump in on
So,
that?
please do, yeah.
A ton.
Absolutely.
So much.
But maybe
Shelly.
talk a little bit about the charring process, because that's a big component that actually gives bourbon its color.
Agreed. So with Maker's Mark, they do a 40-second char process. And if you've gone back and watched the Toasty Barrel Elijah Craig episode,
Wow, that's a throwback.
it's a throwback. But we featured their video. So the Elijah Craig, they put up a video on how they
Toast
char
the barrel, char the
the
barrel.
interior of their barrel. A 40-second charring process is pretty standard. With American oak, you tend to get a little bit more flavor-forward presence, and it's going to be a little more floral, acidic, and bright. French oak on the back end, on the other side of things, becomes a little more deep and dark flavor characteristics. It's going to become a lot of depth, and you're going to get that real oak, that Biff tannins. That we call it old world flavor profile.
Yeah.
So the New World which is, it can be
American
deep.
oak.
And it can be rich, but it's American oak. It's a little more floral forward. But your French oak tends to be a little more rich, a little more depth, a little dark. Murky is a good flavor descriptor as well.
And think about that char process, right? So what you're doing is you think of trees have like sap, right?
Mhm.
And this is charring that sap. It's charring. It's
caramelizing a natural sugar.
A natural sugar.
Yeah.
And that's where those natural sugar flavors come across through the beverage that we're drinking, which is Maker's Mark. Jumping to my taste, I was really thrown off. So I gave that smell a 3. I love that smell. That's what I want. It did not translate whatsoever in the taste. I thought it was very one-sided with the taste. I got a little bit of spice, maybe what these guys are saying, a little bit of saddle leather, but it lasted very, very, it was maybe 2 or 3 seconds. It dies. The Kentucky Hug was worthless, like a little tap.
It was mini.
It was like a little midget coming up, like, what is it? Little People, Big World, like giving you a little hug real quick and running away. It didn't last. Not a fan. It gets a 1. Taste for me. And here's why. I think to myself, or I tell myself, would you go to a bar and order this and drink it straight or on the rocks? Absolutely not. That right there gives it a 1. So I'm going to give it a 1 on taste. Then I'm going to jump right into value.
$20 for this little 375.
$20 for the little guy. I think that's kind of middle of the road what I expect, and that's a 2. So for my overall rating, would be 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. I don't want any more of this dog shit.
You do.
You just gave me a heavier fucking pour.
You want more.
No, because I can throw this across the room and pour something from the behind here that tastes 10 times better for the same price.
Give it another.
Okay, I'll give it another go.
Give it another chance.
So that puts what, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 10 for JMO.
Any blown away bonus?
A blown away bonus.
I don't know how.
Hey, how about this? How about we start taking that blown away bonus? We could take away a point.
No.
If it doesn't, it's really garbage.
Oh, like a.
But it's not garbage. It's not.
Don't
garbage.
give it a point at all. Again, you can take. You don't have to give it a 2. You give it a 1. Give it a 0.
Barndor in the chat says he thinks Makers is close to larceny. Yeah, I would agree there. Absolutely.
So the interwebs, there are many people who agree with you, Barndor.
Yeah.
Many.
I think you hit the nail because I'm not a big larceny fan.
And Makers very similar.
Some of their single barrel stuff is pretty good, but it's like kind of passable.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, and I'm sure that are here that are larceny fans, are like, what the fuck? But
There's
I don't
another
think
one
it's
for
that
the.
great.
Is that a back to basics bourbon?
I
don't
it's
think
kinda-
larceny is.
I think larceny is like basic plus.
Well, larceny has the keyhole, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I've been seeing larceny in a lot of grocery stores lately. We might be able to sneak that in at the end of the quarter.
Ooh.
Yeah, so look out. Thanks for that, Barndor. We'll do a little larceny show, and then I'd like to do a compare. We'll break out the Makers again and we'll compare
Dude,
it.
stare and compare, taste and compare.
Bingo. Taste.
Value?
Sorry, value.
Value 1, absolutely 1. I wouldn't buy this again, to be honest with you.
Oh. But you got to remember our rating scale, though. So 2 is what we expect. Would you expect to pay $20 for this for what you got out of it?
Well, let's see. So like a 750 would be.
Because I tried to give it a 1. I was like, I'm going to give it a 1
Yeah.
for value. But I think
So a 750 would be about $40.
Yeah, actually less than that. I
Give
think.
it what you feel you want to give it.
Yeah, I'm not going to steer him here on his.
I don't know. Like a.
Objection.
Should I?
No
Leading
objections.
the witness.
Yep.
Leading the witness.
Yep.
So sometimes, actually, you know what? Let me think about this again. When I do my value, I compare it to other whiskeys that I've bought in the past that I've really, really liked.
Well, that's
right?
good reasoning. So if you
And-
think it's a
and-
1, it's a 1.
And if it's, but I don't know if that's right or not, because you have to rate the whiskey, the bottle, whatever it is, for what it is, right?
Yeah.
For Maker's Mark. 1.5. I'll give it a 1.5.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
It's a little less than like your
Mhm.
standard. I wouldn't actually try and buy it again.
So with that, what's your total score?
So, what was it? 2-1. 1.5 or no 2.5.
2.5. Wow, so you scored it one half a point less than I did. 5.5, sixer, and what was your total?
Well, my value. Is
Oh,
gonna
you
be a
thought you
little
would
skewed.
your value. Okay, talk value here.
So Zach, I'm sorry. I think you got raped on this bottle.
Yeah.
What?
I think you got raped. I think
At Total Wine?
I think TW is raping.
It's not like you went to the mart down the street.
I
know. The
$20.
Mart.
I think
The James Mart.
I think that $20 for this at the James Mart is exactly what I would expect. At Total Wine, I would expect $16, $17.
Oh.
So I think that you got raped a little bit on this bottle.
That was after tax though, so I don't know.
So it was probably $18.99.
So 18, yeah.
Even then, I still think that's a little high.
You might be right. We should look at. You know what?
I think if you bought a real bottle, right, and I think you do pay for convenience when you buy a smaller bottle.
Right.
You do. I mean, that's a 375. Honestly, I'm surprised. I thought you had a fifth. You brought that little brown bag. I was like, oh, we got a flask.
Right. A little hip flask.
A little hip flask. But no, you brought out like kind of a cool. That's a cool looking bottle.
This is cool. It's a mini.
Yeah, it's
Um,
it's a half 750. So.
So I think you paid a little bit for convenience. I think if you bought a real bottle of Makers, I think a real bottle of Makers is going for like 28 to 36, depending on where you buy it.
For 750.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
don't know.
I think you got raped on that a little bit. And
Maybe
that's
that's why I feel bad.
You should.
So I'm just like
You should feel bad. If I was in your shoes, I'd feel bad too. I would have the buyer's remorse. I think if you're buying regular Makers, let's say you bought a $750 for $36. Okay, you double to get to where you're at. Let's say it's $36, $40 after taxes. Let's be fair. I still say for $40, you're buying double the bottle for this.
Agreed.
I don't think that's a bad.
Here's the
value.
thing.
I think that's good.
Here's where I think Maker's Mark lies. It's the bottle you go buy for a party that you're just going to do mixed drinks with. No one's drinking
That's
this straight
stepped up, right? You're not buying $16
Yeah, you're not buying a plastic bottle of junk.
That's gonna taste like dog shit.
Yeah,
right?
you
This
you
is
can taste this.
respectable.
It's
Oh yeah, that's a
respectable.
great mixer. Absolutely.
Exactly. You take it to a party. It's a high-end mixer, and I think that's the category it sits in.
Yeah.
It sits in that high-end mixer category.
And it looks amazing too. It looks great.
It does. It's a great-looking bottle. I think the opinion out there is neutral on it. I don't think that like a bunch of people like it and a bunch of people hate it. I think people are like, oh yeah, cool, you brought Makers. Like if someone brought that to a party, like I had a big party and I'm like, hey, just bring a bottle of something. Someone rolls in with a bottle of Makers.
You're
and
thrilled.
I put it behind the bar. I'm like, awesome.
That's respectable.
But I'm like, there's the old
Absolutely.
fashions, there's the Cokes, the Dr. Peppers, the Diet Cokes.
All right, you guys were just recently in my house, so if you were looking at my whiskey bar, so I said, hey, roll up, make yourself a mixed cocktail.
Yeah.
And right now in my whiskey bar, I've got a bottle of Rare Breed.
Okay.
I've got a bottle of Makers. I've got a bottle of Dickel, which is the Kirkland.
8-year.
The Kirkland Tennessee.
Give me
It's
some
simple.
tickle.
It's good.
I think it's just the name.
And I'm going to tell you, I just recently put that in a Garrison Brothers 8th cast.
Oh.
Oh wow.
I've got that in there for at least the next 6 months.
No shit.
Yes. So we'll do a little unveiling.
Let me get to the chat really quick. Elmer's asking, can you make the argument that Makers has brand equity just because everyone knows it? I wouldn't really say equity. I would kind of use recognition. I think Makers has huge brand recognition because of the red wax.
And I'm going to tell you right now, that translates to equity. That's where my argument is going.
Okay.
That is brand equity.
Yeah.
And so $40 for double the size, whether you like what's in here or not, what we've just said was it's recognizable, it equals high quality. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm giving the value a 2.5.
Yeah.
So what's your total score before I get back to the chat?
That takes me to a 6.5.
Wow, so we're all kind of what we got? 5.5?
6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
Perfect.
About
Barnor just hit the nail on the head here. He goes, Maker's Red Wax sells as many bottles as the flavor of the whiskey. Everyone knows the name and the wax, in my opinion. No, you hit the
Yeah, it's just
everybody, Barnor.
just
Everybody
the way it
knows that that's Maker's Mark.
Agreed.
Like I can look at that bottle from a mile away, and I
know what it
see
is.
the name, and I know that it's a Maker's Mark bottle.
And you know it's
Makers.
decent. You know it's decent. It's not super amazing.
It's decent.
It's not shitty in any way.
Yeah,
But,
it's
it's
a
a
decent
good
bottle.
whiskey.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
good.
decent
It's good.
bottle. Nothing to write home about. It's great for a party. It's great for mixers. For our friends out there that just want to go pick up something, this is the weekend party bottle that you don't care where it goes, where it ends up. Take that $7.50. Take this little
If
guy.
you get to bring it home, you're thrilled. If you lose it at the party, oh well.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you for next week, for those of you joining us for next week.
Hold on, Safi just joined us. Hi, Safi. Welcome.
Hey, Safi.
And we actually, once again, because we had quite a few people join us, so our first show got a little snafu because it started in private mode, and we don't know how that happened.
So let's encourage you. I am back to editing, so I'm going to be editing the show.
We'll be editing the shows.
I'm going to encourage you to come back in a few days, watch as we put that together, because we had a good start.
Yeah,
That was a great opening.
we had about 10 minutes. We had a really good
I
opening.
was going to say there's some parts of that where we could put it into the bloopers reel too.
Probably, because I started raging.
Barely bloopers.
All of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute, we only
Hulk
have...
came out.
I'm like, nobody's joining the chat. And then I'm like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, we're private. What? And I just start raging. I'm sure Beach here will find...
we're going to get another
bloopers.
a good commercial will come on that, I'm sure.
So that was Makers, guys. We all gave our ratings. So let's talk a little bit about,
Next week?
Next week. What do we got coming up?
Makers 46. So
okay.
the next step up, their barrel statement, age statement, Makers 46.
Barrel aged. Okay, wait.
It's a further aged.
So is it like a barrel proof Maker's Mark?
It's a further aged, and they put a statement on it, and so we'll talk 46 next week. But I'm going to give you one last fun fact. Zach, could you take the bottle back to the camera, and could you focus in on this little?
Hold on a second.
right
In the
here.
chat, Matt Stafford says, "I bet BJ can't snort a teaspoon of it."
I mean, I bet I could.
I put money on that actually. I mean, if we had
What do you want, side?
if we were monetized and had our donations turned on,
Hold
on. What would be the amount for us to go do it live on camera?
Well, Matt Stafford would have to give me $5, but somebody else would have to at least give me.
No, but say they were donating through.
Oh, like a tip? Yeah.
They could donate and leave a tip here.
Do a
Oh,
tip.
$3. Everybody, if you could tip me $3,
No.
if everybody
Wait, no. I'm
$3,
talking about total.
Oh, total.
Increments
Yeah.
of 5. Yes.
So you need 20 to do a snort?
30. I'd like $30.
Yeah, I would do. I'm with
$30.
you.
Just snort a liquid up your nose and then spit it out your mouth.
$30.
There you go.
Spit it out my mouth.
No,
I'm not spitting this
that's
out.
right.
I'm gonna enjoy that.
All right.
Hey, $30 buys our next bottle next week.
There you go.
So,
what do you want? The government warning,
No,
or
show
the front, Nick, show the front, show
or
the
do you want?
front.
Show that glass Maker's Mark. Show the mark.
the front.
The mark.
There we go.
What's
So
that
that's
mark?
it.
What is that? What's that mark mean, BJ?
So that is
That's
the
it.
Maker's Mark. And so that's what this is
Yeah,
about.
talk about that little. But here's the thing you got to remember: on the bigger bottles, it's wax.
It's wax on the bigger
wax.
bottle, glass on this bottle. That is the Maker's Mark, and so what that is, it's a wax stamp that is S, and then it's IV, and it's got a star, and so that is the Maker's Mark. The SW or the S stands for Samuels. William Samuels is the original master distiller. The 4 because he was a 4th generation distiller, and the star because this is distilled at the Star Hill Farm in Loretto,
and there's a star
Kentucky.
there.
So you've got the S, the 4, and the star, and that
4th
is
generation.
the Maker's Mark, hence the name Maker's Mark. That's why we call it Maker's Mark
Where is
whiskey.
Loretto, Kentucky? Is that within Bourbon County?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, outside of Bourbon County.
You could be a bourbon as long as you're in Kentucky. You have 51% mash bill. Somebody calls
People,
out.
yeah.
People back in our research.
We're not rehashing what makes a bourbon because it's apparently a very sensitive topic. I'm gonna say if you're in Kentucky and you're making bourbons, you're over 51% corn.
You're good to go.
You're
Yeah,
good to
you're a bourbon maker.
Isn't
Oh God! What happened?
What just happened?
You tried to snort it.
This needs to go.
I'll take my
$3. They can't donate money yet.
I don't think I saw that.
I don't know where you live.
I wasn't even looking.
Yeah, you should have watched it. I didn't even get to see
Did
that.
it go up the nostril?
Oh.
It was like-
This reminds me of if you guys remember Jackass, where Steve-O snorted wasabi.
Oh yeah.
Can I have a tissue?
I don't have tissues. down
Tissue.
here.
Yeah, let me see if I can find you a tissue. Tissue?
Wow, we really just bungled this. I think this is now. You are like turning red. Are you okay?
Oh God!
Wow, we gotta bring like the paper towels. And do you want me to get the neti pot out for you?
Yeah, all you have to do with the neti pot is
Jeez.
pick it up, pour it on your nose, wash it out. I don't think bourbon was made to be consumed by the nostril.
No.
The things we do for
Yep.
a couple bucks, right?
Ugh.
I don't know. Maybe that sets the precedent. Are we able to get tips and all that yet, or no?
Once we monetize, we still need like another 1,000 hours. So to all of our friends out there,
Oh God.
please subscribe if you don't already. Please click the bell. It costs nothing.
Ugh.
Like, subscribe, click the bell.
Oh, where are we? We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
Instagram, hit us up at The Barrel Buds. Twitter, The Barrel Buds. Facebook, we have The Barrel Buddies group. Please follow us. We have Zach doing a lot of our social media posts, so follow us on there. Are you okay?
I'm fantastic.
He is recovering, and he is great.
So this almost kind of reminds me of like, I wonder if nostril chugging gets you more drunk just like butt chugging does.
I mean, it's a
Little butt chug, huh?
Yeah, I mean, because it might go from your nostrils right to your brain.
Oh yeah, you might have some brain, a little whiskey brain.
Yeah, a little whiskey on the brain.
Oh God.
Maybe it's like coating just part of like your cerebrum.
Yeah, you might make
It's a
some of that-
membrane, so maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe you
Did
just
get
like
some alcohol around that.
you might have just like lobotomized yourself. I don't know. You look
Yeah.
very calm.
Worth it.
All right, so get this. So Elmer says Getting to the chat here, Elmer says classify that BJ snort as a Kentucky stroke. I like that. Barndoor says try snorting something different. Grab that Stag Junior behind BJ.
Whoa!
We will not be doing that tonight.
That's not back to basics.
No, that's not Back to Basics show this, but I am looking forward to that eventually. We will break into that.
Stag Junior? Fuck
Yeah, we're gonna break into. So a lot of this stuff on the back shelf here is
It's
some of
not
my
Back to
favorites,
Basics.
but that's another show for another day. And I think that kind of wraps up the show. I'm James.
I am Zach.
And I'm BJ.
You all have a great night. We'll have some. Hopefully, we're gonna get some more content out here.
Awesome.
Soon, yeah, lots more content coming. What's next week? Did we talk about that?
Makers 46.
Makers 46.
Makers 46.
You remember seeing that movie Roxana? Steve Martin, he drank wine through the
That's
nose.
Roxanne.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Roxanne.
Daryl Hannah.
Yeah, Daryl Hannah.
Yeah, where he's got the big nose.
That's the movie.
That's really aging us here. Makes me sound like
I remember that when I was a
It's a
kid.
good
60
movie.
years old. Is Steve Martin still alive? Doesn't he have a
Yeah.
Doesn't he have a bluegrass band or
He
something?
does. The Steep Canyon Rangers.
Oh wow! Talk about like pop culture trivia right
I
there.
know that.
How do I know that? I have no idea.
So check out the what are they called?
The Steep Canyon Rangers.
Steve Martin's bluegrass band. There you go, folks.
Yeah.
You all have a great night.
Safi, we're gonna do that shelf tour soon.
Yes, Safi will do the shelf tour
Oh, God.
soon. We'll do shelf tour probably in the next month or so, but we want to get through basics because basics are what you guys can get a hold of, and this stuff I've been hoarding and collecting for years.
Basics
so,
is where you start. You
Yeah.
start and then you work yourself up.
exactly
to the shelf.
You got to start with the basics, as we all have here.
Start on the bottom shelf.
You start on the bottom shelf, and then you get to some of my level where we've got some crazy stuff up here. So, you guys have a great night, great Thursday, great weekend. We love you all.
Love ya.
Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, the YouTube. Hit the bell. I just repeated all that, but please do it because we're still not monetized. And if we want to start having Google pay for these bottles and YouTube, we need you guys to do that stuff. So do it. Thank
Absolutely.
you. We're going to have some merch coming out soon. We've been kicking it around.
Merch is coming.
Merch is coming. Shirts, Glencairns. We got some stuff in the works.
Brown tuxedo shirts.
Brown, we're not doing tuxedo shirts.
Absolutely.
Who
I am
even
totally
get
down
to
with
make a custom? I don't even know who can make a custom tuxedo shirt.
I do.
We'll find
All right,
we'll
he's
find
got
out.
it.
Embroidered too. He's
We're
done.
shutting this down. He's done.